Alright guys, how's it going? It's Ellipsis here, just coming to show you guys a new video. It's going to be a build video on the Necromancer. And it's basically just going to be discussing and working around some of the trade points now that the new build has come in and the change to the dhuumfire trait, which a lot of people are not happy with, but I think that it was, it was definitely warranted. But we want to try and ideally keep this build pretty much the same way as it was before, but as you can see, we're just going to be moving around a couple of trade points, and I'm going to do my best to speak with the new a new trade point system. So instead of going with 64004, you're just going to move two of those points from spite, move out of the way, take two of those points out of spite and put them down into curses. Now, before I get into this, I just want to kind of explain what the change to dhuumfire was. And so if we hover over this, it used to be that on crit, you had a chance to inflict burning on your target, and obviously as a condition mancer, that's going to be good, so you wanted to stack precision so that you could crit as much as possible and put as much burning on as possible to just pressure your target a little bit more. But as you can see now, it's been changed so that Life Blast will inflict burning onto your target. So if we go into Death Shroud right now, Life Blast is going to be number 1, so only when you're in Death Shroud using your number 1 is when you'll get your burning off. And so honestly, I think we kind of want to stay away from that. Obviously, if you want to go into Death Shroud, that's up to you, and you can still stick with dhuumfire. I think it's still going to be viable. But I wanted to move a couple of things around so we have access to all of our abilities for as long as possible. So we're going to be keeping it basically the same. We're going to get Spiteful Spirit in Spite, because it's going to give you retaliation when you enter Death Shroud, so it's just a little bit more pressure. And I mean, if you're going into Death Shroud, a lot of the time you'll be doing that is when you want to be mitigating a lot of damage or some damage, and so getting retaliation then actually takes away some pressure from you, and then it puts pressure on your opponent because they're going to have to watch out what they're actually using, because they'll be potentially hurting themselves more than you. And marks deal more damage because we are still running with a staff. We want those marks to be doing as much damage as possible. So now moving into curses, we're going to be getting number 2, which is going to be hemophilia. So you've got bleed durations increased by 20%, and obviously that's going to be doing a lot of damage, because the longer you have the conditions out, the longer they can actually be ticking for and doing their damage. And it synergizes really well with a couple of other traits that we're going to be picking up, and I'll explain why just in a little bit. Moving up into the master trait, we're going to get terror. Now, terror deals damage when they're feared, so we're going to be turning this build more into a Terrormancer than anything, because we are going to be running with Spectral Wall. We've got our Death Shroud fear, and then we've also got Reaper's Mark to get a fear off as well. So we're going to be wanting those to do as much damage as they do, and if they've got conditions on them, fear's going to be ticking for 1049 each time, and that's a lot. Let's say every second it's going to be doing 1000 damage, and that's a lot because it means that while they're running away from you, they can't be doing anything, so obviously that's going to be great. And then the main change to this build we're going to be seeing in the Grandmaster, which is going to be Lingering Curses. So conditions inflicted by Scepter skills have increased durations. This is going to be synergistic really well with hemophilia, because we're going to be getting the increased bleed duration, so that's 20% bleed duration, and then 33% increase on bleed duration from the Scepter number 1, so it's obviously going to do bleed, poison, and those first 2 attacks are going to be doing 55% extra damage, or essentially, because they're going to be bleeding for 55% extra time. And then Grasping Dead also does 2 stacks of bleed, and that's going to be lasting another 55% longer, so that's obviously going to be very good. So that's why we've chosen Lingering Curses there. So yeah, that's going to be the main change, but I'm still going to go over the rest of it. So in Soul Reaping, we've got Recharge on Spectral Skills is reduced. So we're going to be running with 2 Spectral Skills. We're going to be running with Spectral Wall, because it's going to be a 1.5 second fear every time someone runs into it, and you can put it across a node and run through that and give yourself 5 seconds of protection as well. So it's going to be a very good trait, and because people can just run out and back into it, you can get potentially 3 seconds, 3 maybe 4 seconds of fear on someone, which is really good depending on how stupid they are and keep running into your into your fear wall. And then we've also got Spectral Wall. It's a bunch of swiftness uptime. Now, a lot of people would suggest not taking this, and if you want to get more survivability, you could go with, where is it, Spectral Armor. So you get 6 seconds of protection there as well, and you also get more You also get more life force when you're taking damage, so that's a potential one that you can take. But I also like this because you can be running from point to point easily. You can use it to escape. Spectral Walk is just really an overall good skill, so that's why I've taken that. So that's, yeah. We've got 20% reduced cooldowns on both of these abilities, which is obviously going to be very, very good. And then picking up our Master trait, we're going to get Master of Terror, so your fear effects have increased durations. Obviously, because of the Terror trait that we took, we want those fears to be lasting as long as possible, so they can be ticking as much as possible. So yeah, that's why we've taken that. So no, those are the traits that we're looking at. Moving up into our equipment, we're going to be running with Staff, and then a Scepter Dagger. Now the sigils, I'm still playing around with what sigils I really like, and it's completely up to you, but I do like Sigil of Doom and Sigil of Geomancy on both of these, because it's just extra conditions around, and because you're going to be wanting to sit on a point mostly. Scepter doesn't have a huge range. Obviously you can stand back off a point if you need to, but if you get into the point, into close range, that Geomancy is going to be doing a lot of damage, which is obviously going to be very good. So yeah, those are the sigils I've taken, those are the weapons I've taken. Moving on to runes, we've got Runes of the Undead, and we're going to take 6 of those, or 1 of those I guess, because you can only take 1 with the new system, but we're going to get Runes of the Undead. So condition damage and toughness, and then also 7% of toughness is converted to condition damage, so we've got 1600 toughness. That's a fair bit of extra condition damage right there. And then we're running with the Rabid Amulet because it's going to be getting us a lot of condition damage. It's got precision to crit, not that it matters because we don't have dhuumfire anymore. But the big one, the reason we're taking this is the 643 extra toughness. And because of the rune set we've taken, you want as much toughness as possible to convert that into condition damage. So with this build, we are going to be running with 1500 condition damage, and that's going to be very, very painful for them. And condition duration, it says 20%. But then you put that on top of the 53% on your Scepter ones as well, which is going to be great. So yeah, that's going to be the main part of the build. That's going to be the build itself. Actually, I should just say I'm using Consume Conditions. It's a very, very good heal. It's a strong heal at 5.3 base, and then it's also a good condition removal. And you will still need to remove those conditions because they will hurt you. You're not an overly survivable build. And then we're also going to be running with Plague because Plague is obviously just very good in a team fight. It buffs your health a lot, 36k health. And you've got Cripple, Blind, and Bleed. So those are obviously going to be very, very good. So that's why we've taken that. But now I'm going to go ahead and I think I'll show you some attacks against these target golems to show you how much condition damage we can put out. And then I'm also going to show you a couple of clips from fights, and I'll sort of talk about what I was doing and why. Alright, so this first clip is going to involve me running away using my Spectral Walk, trying to get into a team fight after capping the far point. I see it's getting contested again. I want to keep it in favor, so I do Spectral Return right there. Unfortunately, the engineer manages to knock me off point and get the neutralized, but that's okay because I do get a couple of stacks of Torment on him, which means as soon as he starts running, which he does right there, he's going to be getting a lot of damage. I use the advantage of him knocking himself off the point to put down my Fear Chain and actually get 3/4 of the way to a full cap for my team. You can see just from those conditions I put down there, it doesn't take long. I've got him incredibly low on health. Unfortunately, this Power Ranger does come into the fight at this point in time, doing a lot of damage, putting me in pressure. So I actually do use Plague Form and try and get away, but I will be going into the downstate in just a second. So I'm going to cut to the next clip. This is also going to be me using Spectral Walk, getting over to my teammate in order to get this res right now, and I guess this is making the Ranger decide not to go and get that spike, so I do manage to get the full res, and I've still got all my cooldowns because I didn't have to waste a fear knocking him away from my teammate. He's going to be backing up right now, and I take advantage of that, putting my fear on, getting a little bit further away from the point, returning this node into a completely neutral state, which is going to be very advantageous for us, slowing this gameplay down now. I'm going to be putting my Spectral Walk down at just the right time, and fearing the Ranger off the node for a little bit longer, which allows me to switch targets to the Engineer. And the Engineer was focusing on my teammate. Unfortunately, he does still go into the downstate, but because the teammate managed to get over and res that thief that's in the downstate, we did actually manage to win that team fight in the end. Having a look now at this clip, it's going to be the same kind of thing, using my fears to keep a Necromancer off point for an extended period of time, and actually allows us to get the full cap in favor as we get feared off the node. But yeah, using that using that fear chain right there, I was actually able to secure our team the full cap, which we actually needed at this point in time because they were catching up to us in terms of points. But you can see in a couple of seconds right here, I'm going to explain it now. I'm actually going to be putting the spectral wall down in the middle of the point, which is going to be allowing our team to have an advantage, because if anyone runs through it, we obviously get protection. But also the enemy team has to be thinking a little bit more carefully about where they walk, because if they do decide to go through that spectral wall, they're going to be facing a lot of extra DPS right now, and we're going to be obviously able to think more freely. So you can see the ranger thought about going through it, but then last second decided against it, and so that's the kind of positioning thinking we want to be forcing them into, and that was actually advantageous to us. Now I'm thinking about how I'm putting my conditions down. Obviously I'm not going to be able to have access to that many of them, but the ones I do put down, they are staying there for a long time because of the traits that we've taken with this build. And now this is actually the main reason I chose this clip, is for this res. I'm going in to res my teammate and get knocked back off point just for long enough for me to actually be able to get back up in time, fear away the engineer, and then get my teammate up, which actually allows us to stay in this fight for a lot longer. This is actually going to be the play that wins us the game. The engineer is about to go into the down state now. I put my spectral wall down at just the right time. The engineer dodges through it. The dodge frame ends just at the right time, and we're actually able to get him into the down state. And I'm going to be able to go in now and get him into. We're going to be able to get this spike and win the game for our team. So that's going to be it right there. Thank you for watching this video. If you do like the build, don't forget to leave a like rating down below, and I'll appreciate that. Also check out my Twitter handle, at Ellipsis playing. It's on the screen right now, and you'll be able to see when I post all my new videos and stuff. But other than that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.